The first pose we're going to practice today is Yoga Mudra. And for this pose, you're going to need 2 blocks. We're going to take the knees apart and have the toes touch one another. And the important thing in this posture is that you're sitting back towards the heels. So you really want to bring the sitting bones back towards the heels. Then we're going to sit here, lift the chest, press the fingertips down into the ground, and focus on lengthening the sides of the waist. So take a deep breath in, lengthen the sides of the waist. Then we'll walk the hands forward to the blocks, but make sure the hips don't come up. So keep your hips sitting back towards the heels. And then stretch the arms forward and relax the head so the head comes to the floor. Now it's important in this pose that you keep the elbows straight. We don't want to have the elbows relaxed, because if the elbows are relaxed, then the spine is collapsed. So we want to engage the arms by lifting the triceps and keeping the elbows straight. So really walk the fingertips forward and lift the triceps, and then relax the head towards the floor. And then keep walking the fingers forward. So we're going to inhale, lengthen the spine, sit the hips back towards the heels, walk the fingertips forward, and relax the head. Keep lengthening the sides of the waist. Now for some people this is difficult. Sometimes the ankles are tight or the heels are tight. So there are a few options. You can take a blanket roll if you have pain in your feet, and you can place it underneath your feet, like so. And that will take the pain out of the feet or the ankles. So if there's any ankle pain, take a blanket or a towel, roll it up, and place it under your feet. The second option is if there's some pain in the knee, or if you have knee problems, this is a great idea. You can take a thin blanket, and what we're going to do is put the blanket in between the knees, the back of the thighs, and the calf muscles. So you want to come forward and really bring the blanket into the knee crease. This creates a little space in the back of the knee. And then when you sit back, you can have more contact of the back of the thigh with the shin bone. And then you can come into your pose. So this helps to open up the knees and feels a little bit nicer if you have tight quads as well. One more option. For some of us, our head will not touch the floor, and we do want to have a little support under the forehead. So if your head doesn't quite come to the floor, you can use, this is a yoga block, but you can use a book at home or a blanket folded up, and just place that under the forehead so that the forehead makes contact with something when you're in Yoga Mudra. So these are your options. Now, that's the first pose we're going to practice today. And the second pose is moving to the side. And we're trying to lengthen the shorter side of the scoliosis. So the shorter side of the curve will be lengthening. So what we're going to do is take the blocks and move them over to the right side. So I'm going to walk my blocks over. If I need a head support, I'll bring my head support as well. And then we're going to reach over to the right side. So now I'm lengthening the left side of the body. In order to do that, I need to shift my hips over to the left just a little bit. So I'm sitting my left sitting bone more onto my left heel. And then I'm going to walk my left fingertips forward a little bit more. So you can see here that I'm lengthening the left side of my body from my armpit all the way to my waist. Now, once I'm in this pose, I want to breathe into the left rib cage. So I'm expanding the left side of the ribs. Again, opening up the shorter side of the curve. Now, from here, we're going to add a twist. We're going to take this block, the left block, and place it up a little bit higher and bring the right block back. And we're going to reach through the left fingertips and gently twist a little bit to my left. So I'm looking under my left armpit. And as I do this, I'm bringing the right rib cage into the body. So I'm absorbing the right ribs in. And this helps to correct a right scoliosis. Then what we'll do is go to the left side, but on the left side, we're just going to stretch equally through both hands because this side is the side of the curve. So we're just going to do a nice kind of balancing pose to lengthen both sides. Hold for a few seconds. And then we're going to go back to the first side because we want to lengthen the shorter side of the curve more. So when we work with scoliosis, we want to do things a little more asymmetrically. So throughout this practice, you'll see through each pose, we're going to go a little more to the side that needs correcting and a little less to the side that's more collapsed. And then we'll come back here, we'll stretch, and we'll add the twist. So Yoga Mudra. So we're ready to practice Yoga Mudra. So we'll have the knees a little bit wider than the hips and the toes together. And walk the hands forward and place them on the blocks. Remember to keep the sitting bones pressing down towards the heels. So there's just as much pressure moving back towards the heels as the hands are walking forward. That's the way that we lengthen the spine, by moving in two separate directions, by leaning back and stretching forward. Now put some more energy in your arms. Really stretch out through the fingertips and engage your triceps. Good. Relax the head, take a few deep breaths, and lengthen the sides of the waist. So inhale, really breathe into the ribcage on both sides. And as you exhale, lengthen the spine. Really walk the fingertips forward. You can even look at your hands. So guys, look at your hands for a second, yeah? And if you have scoliosis, sometimes one hand is a little bit behind the other. So you want to stretch out through both fingertips and try to even out the hands to make sure the spine is just as long on both sides. We're still holding a few more breaths. We hold this pose for about 15 to 30 seconds. Sitting back on the heels, reaching through the fingertips, lengthening both sides of the waist. Good. Now we're going to walk the blocks to the right side. So take the blocks and walk them both to the right side. Good. Not too far. Okay. And then reach a little more through the left fingertips. That's it. Keep reaching through the left fingertips. And here what we're trying to do is lengthen now the left side. Because the curve is going to the right, we want to start to open up the left side. So the focus is stretching from the armpit all the way down to the top of the pelvis. So really reach through that left fingertip. Good. Relax your head so your head is just relaxed. And now I'm going to ask her to breathe a little more into the left rib cage. So she's going to breathe more into the left side. Good. This is the side that we want to breathe into, the left side. Opening up the shorter side of the curve. A few more breaths here. For now, the head is just relaxed, so the forehead is on the ground. And sit back a little more onto the left heel. Yes, when you do that, it starts to lengthen the left side of the body a little bit more. One note here, if you have an upper thoracic curve, you're going to want to focus a little more on stretching through the arm, okay? If you have a lumbar curve, then you'll focus a little more on sitting back onto the heels, so you're opening up the lower part of the spine. So in her case, she has more of a right thoracic curve, so we're going to focus a little more up here. But if her curve was lower down, we can focus more on opening this part. Now we're going to move on to the next part of this pose. We're going to take the block and take the left block and put it up high. Good. Left hand comes on the block. The right hand will come back, so you'll slide that block back. Good. And then rest your forearm on the block. Good. Now we're going to come into a twist. So you're going to twist looking over, or under rather, under the left armpit. That's it. You can use this arm to really push down through the hand, push down into the block, and that will help you twist a little more. And when you're here, what you're thinking about is absorbing this right side into the body. Okay? If she has the right curve, this part will be a little bit higher than the left. So we want to even it out and move the ribs into the body. Good. This is one variation. If this is easy and it feels good, another option is to straighten out both arms by straightening the block. That's it. So now you're lengthening the right side and you're twisting to the left. And this twist is very important because whenever you have a scoliosis, there's a side that's a little more collapsed, but there's also a rotational component. There's a twist, and it's that twisting force that creates the bump in the back. So what we want to do is lengthen the shorter side and twist to the opposite direction. Now we're going to go to the left, but this time the blocks are short. The reason we're doing this is to balance out the movement, but we want to keep both sides of the waist long. We'll hold for about 15 to 30 seconds here. Reach, reach, reach through the fingertips. Sit back onto the left heel. Good. Left heel this way. So the hips are going back. The arm is stretching forward. Good job. Relax your head. A few more breaths. Now you should feel the whole left side of the body lengthening, or sorry, the right side of the body lengthening. Relax the head, let it go. And now we're going to go back to the first side because we want to stretch out the shorter side of the curve. So go back to the first side. Stretch through the left fingertips, sit back onto the left heel a little bit more. Breathe into the left rib cage. And then take the left block and make it higher. So we're going to add the twist here. Good. Look under the left armpit. Absorb the right ribs into the body. And keep the weight sitting back into that left heel. That's it. Sometimes we forget and the hips come up. Beautiful. Couple more breaths. Now to finish off, we want to come back to the center. So bring both blocks back to the center, to the first part of the pose. Yoga Mudra. Reach forward, lengthen both sides of the waist equally, and sit back onto the heels. Keep the energy in the arms. Relax your head. Good. Lengthen the sides of the waist. And then come back, sit up. You can sit back on your heels. And just take your fingertips on the ground and lift through the crown of the head and feel the length that we created evenly through both sides of the waist. Good job.